continue on TV at 8 a.m. tomorrow. But first, here's a wrap of all you need to know about this fight over the voters register.
What we are doing is to prevent war in this country. If they think that after the demonstration, everybody will go to sleep if they don't accede to the request, they are joking. Today is just the beginning.
There will be no elections in this country with a flawed register. Unless the register is cleaned up, there will be no elections.
Perhaps this is the first time the NDC has taken interest in the register. Otherwise, one would have expected them to call for such an audit of the 2016 register, which contained photos of plants and animals representing voters.
In fact, then people also hit the street to demonstrate against the Electoral Commission. Then it will also mean that the Electoral Commission is not consistent.
So let's get right into the conversation. Let me hear what you think. 055 111 055 Let's get right into the conversation. My name is Kwaku Asante. Benjamin Alpha is a communication analyst, is also an expert in that field. He's connecting with us in the studio. Nana Kakari is a Ghanaian journalist based in the US. Justice Aloy is an activist. So is Isaiah Duncan Williams. And then Prince Kuma, a student at the University of Ghana. Gentlemen and lady, we have just about 21 minutes to do this conversation. Of course, we're going to continue on TV later, but let's get right into it. Let me start from you, Nana Kakari. You've been following this conversation, and you are in the U.S. Do you see or do you find the cause by the NDC as justified?
You know what? I will say the calls by Ghanaians. We shouldn't politicize this. This is a national issue. And let's be clear, it's just the NDC or a political party that has raised the flag or has actually brought it to the forefront. So we have to look at this as a national issue and not an NDC or MPP or any political party issue. Ghanaians owe to the Electoral Commission own Ghanaians to prove to them that on December 7th, there is going to be a free, fair, and transparent election. And to do that, they must conduct that investigation again, or get the independent body to come in and investigate. Look, the Electoral Commission, let's call it as it is, it's being accused of legal activities. It's being accused of these irregularities. So why would you are a defendant, why would you ask a prosecutor to bring evidence to you, the defendant? No, they're not going to bring it to you. You are the criminal, if I should say. Any evidence that the NDC or Ghanaians have should be presented to the independent body that they are calling to do the probe. And that's about it. Look, whether NDC, MPP, we shouldn't look at it as a political party seeking this investigation, because we can't even trust any of the political party, to be honest with you. None of the political parties in Ghana are fit to rule the country. None of their nominees. For God's sake, none of them are even fit to lead a class 5 classroom, let alone to hand a whole country to them to govern. That's just not going to be possible. My take on it is the Electoral Commission needs to be dismantled, and then the independent body needs to come in and investigate that Electoral Commission, and then let Ghanaians know the outcome of their investigation.
Isaiah, is that the same sense you get? Do you agree with Nana that, listen, the EC is just being intransigent? Listen to the NDC's demand. Do an audit now. Isaiah.
No, thank you very much. I want to say good evening to our viewers and then our listeners across the globe. Please, I want us to look at it in a tangent of the reasons. What are their reasons? Okay, so let's not, as you said, let's not politicize it in the area of being MPP or NDC. When we have a constitutional body, which is an independent body, that is the EC, Electoral Commission, how can we swear out the independent body, which is a constitutional body, and bring in a private institution to start the affairs of our elections? In the area of data privacy concern, we need to be looking at it very well. Secondly, it's now from the EC's office, so I cannot really and I'm not going to defend anybody. I'm speaking on my view that even in 2016, we have these issues popping up. In 2016, I remember that I didn't hear any party complaining of we putting aside the constitutional body, that is the Electoral Commission, and setting up a new private institution to steer affairs of the elections. I think it's deliberately wrong. We are not supposed to move to that tangent because the data privacy of our citizens is very, very paramount. We are supposed to look at the data privacy of our people. Let's look at the cost involved as well, and then the time consuming. All this being said, I think we are supposed to be looking at the reasons. Party felt like, okay, there is something going on under the sleeves. The approach they can take is to go to a court of competent jurisdiction and then put their case before them. Then the court is going to determine whether there are discrepancies or the challenges or anything or grievances.
I mean, I like the point you make, Isaiah, about probably going to court. And this is the point I want to bring in Benjamin Alpha Ado, a communication analyst on this. Benjamin, the point is being made that if the NDC have any concerns, they should go to court like the NBP did in 2016 over the NHI registrants. Is that not the same sense you get?
First of all, there are a number of ways to express concerns and try and get our institutions to work. One of them is dialogue. And when dialogue fails, sometimes it is important that you use other constitutional means such as protest and demonstrations to drum home the point. Of course, another is the court. But it is not a given or a fast rule that whenever a political party has a concern with a process, its first resort must be the court. And the court process and calls on the EC to do right by these concerns are not mutually exclusive. They can engage the EC while still pursuing that. And I do not think that by demonstrating the NDC's right to resort to court processes, they are stopped from exercising that right. And I'm sure that it is within their arsenal of tools to use to press home their demands. But on the substantive matter of the calls that have been made by the NDC, Kwaku Asante, I think that as an independent constitutional body, the intransigence of the EC is very troubling. It is very troubling because the NDC is simply making a call for an independent audit into the electoral roll, citing certain infractions and instances which makes the electoral roll unfit to be used for the election. I think Isaiah say that we should not bring in an independent body to supplant the work of the EC. I don't think he has followed the conversation enough. What the NDC is calling for is a body of experts that is going to work with the EC and all the political parties, right? Take the concerns into consideration, and with all the political parties at the table, go through these concerns and make sure that the electoral roll is audited. The EC, the number one function of the EC, as we know, is to conduct elections and manage our democratic transitions in a free, fair, and transparent manner. That process requires the perception of credibility, the perception of fairness. Now, if somebody says that the person is calling for an audit into a system, audits by its nature are meant to confirm or refute allegations. So the NDC says there are certain transfers that have been done illegally, and they have put forward this allegation. It is only fair, in consonance with your mandate, to be fair and transparent, and to make sure that you conduct your affairs in a manner that engenders confidence in the public, that you heed to some of these concerns and double down on the intransigence and listen, especially when you yourself, as the constitutional body or as the election management body, has admitted to about 3 of these concerns. And we know of the transfer that the district EC officer in Pusiga was able to go into the system and transfer votes from Tamale South to his district. Now, this raises a number of concerns. One, How many of such instances have been done across the country? 2, what is the integrity of the system as at now? If a district officer can, get into the system and transfer from one district, which is not even within his purview, to another. These are all concerns which I think are very legitimate. In any case, the question to ask is, what harm will be caused if we do an independent audit and we find out that some of the concerns that the NDC was raising is false? What harm would be caused the EC? So I think that at a time when the EC's perception of credibility and confidence is at an all-time low, at the last Afrobarometer report, the EC was cited as one of the institutions that its confidence had dropped from 75% in 2005 to about 33% now. Most Ghanaians are losing confidence in the EC. And it is important that confidence is restored in the EC. We view it as a credible institution because the EC is important in managing our democracy. And the reason we have become a beacon of democracy is because we have been able to manage our democratic transitions with a fairly credible and transparent elections over the period. And so I do not think that it is a court that should be restricted only to the NDC because it has a potential of impacting on this election, and the consequences can be dire for our thriving democracy.
I mean, is that the same sense you get, Justice? That, listen, the NDC's call must be listened to by the Electoral Commission.
Thank you very much, Kwaku Asante, and a very good evening to our listeners. I believe that the EC or the Electoral Commission is at a point where the handlers and managers of our Electoral Commission must do everything possible to ensure that Ghanaians have that trust that they used to have in the Electoral Commission. I believe the call for forensic audit by the NDC and other well-meaning Ghanaians is not far-fetched. It is very, very important. NDC as a political party is not calling for this forensic audits for no reasons. They have stated clear reasons that even the EC has admitted some errors that they did in voter transfer. The NDC has cited that over 243,000 votes have been illegally transferred to places that the people did not actually register. And this call for clear consent, just like Alpha said, and other well-meaning Ghanaians like Professor Kofi Abochi has mentioned that auditing in its nature actually confirm or refute allegations. So if indeed there is nothing to be hidden, if there is nothing to be worried about, I would be very glad that the EC, in order to ensure that Ghanaians actually have that trust in them to run a free and fair election that is not marred by any kind of compromise, the EC should be able to avail themselves to be audited. You know, people are saying that, I heard one of the EC officials saying that in 2016 there were...
Okay, Justice, hold that one for me. I'll come back to it. That claim by the EC Deputy Commissioner that there were plants and animals on the tree. But, I mean, Prince Kumar, is that the same sense you get? You agree with Justice and those who say that, listen, we need to do the audit? Or you are those who say that, listen, if you have any evidence, give it to the Electoral Commission, let it probe it by itself and make some determinations?
Right, thank you, Kwaku. I think that it's not about giving out the data to the Electoral Commission. The claims or the issues from the NDC has nothing to do with the EC dealing with the data. It has to do with the trust. That should I even give you the data? What is the assurance that when corrected, such mistakes will not occur? And considering the fact that I heard one of the first person that's make submission mentioned about the independence of the EC. I think that the independence of the EC does not in any way extricate them from an audit, or being audited does not in any way subdue their independence. Every institution can be audited. So the EC is not beyond audit. The EC is a creature of our constitution. Our constitution is built on three cardinal principles: probity, transparency, and accountability. And the EC quest to engender public trust should rather open up for an audit to be carried on. As Allah rightly said, if you have nothing to hide, why not open up for an audit? Imagine what happened in Putiga, for instance. If I had not come to the attention of the NDC, what could have happened? That means that the EC robust system is not robust enough. Because if you look at Regulation 22, CI 91, we talk about how transfer should be done, and somebody is able to sit in his office to transfer people without a notice and knowledge. It clearly tells you that it's not a mistake, it's a deliberate transfer fraud, an illicit act. This is not a mistake. This is somebody, you are transferring my details from a police station I do not belong to a police station I have no idea of. So clearly, it must be audited. How many of the pussy has the NDC, maybe for whatever reason, has not been able to unravel? There may be 500 pussy that has not come to the attention of the NDC. That's why there must be an audit. Granted that the NDC have even submitted the data or the information to the EC. Now they correct it, and then they submit to the NDC again. Then identify certain infractions again. Does it mean that you have to go over again to keep on correcting? We are dealing with the timetable. So clearly, the EC should open up for an audit, and that audit will either confirm the claims of the NDC or deny so.
I mean, right? We are just about to get around the table one more time. I apologize again because of our coverage of the balloting. We didn't start on time. We had to bring you that live coverage, and so we just about doing 20 minutes. But we have a full show on TV, and so we'll do that. So let me come to you, Isaiah. The point that I've been made around the table is that it is the Electoral Commission that is being accused of having done all these illegal transfers and other discrepancies. For what reason should the NDC trust the EC and go and give this data to them and ask them to fix it? If you can do that for me in a minute.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kwaku Asante. What I'm saying is that with regards to our constitution, if you are aggrieved with discrepancy or what have you, you have a court of competent jurisdiction. That is the judiciary. You can seek redress from that end. You can present your case to them. They will go through, and then they will know, okay, this is what you are saying. Is it true or not? We shouldn't just give our data or what have you to the private institution to do it with our EC, as I think our brother said, hello, someone. So we should be looking at the data privacy concern. It's very, very critical. That is the data privacy of our electorates. What do we do with it? And that is the private institution comes in to do whatever we are talking about. Fine. What is the next process? Will that data remain with the EC, or now data is out there? We have to know that the EC is an independent body. And for that reason, whatever they do must be independent. So they must not be interfered with this, how do we call it, private stuff, so that they get their private data consent. And before you see, okay, for instance, you see your face on this thing on the markets and say, hey, how did it get here? Who are we going to blame? Are we going to blame the EC or the private institution? So we should be critical about this to know that you have a challenge. There are areas, there are things you're supposed to do. How do you seek redress? So, okay, this is what we've said. Now, let's go to the court of competent jurisdiction, present our evidence to the court, and then we proceed from there. I think that is the best approach to take.
Now, do you agree with Isaiah that the NDC should be going to court?
They should be going to court, and also the Electoral Commission shouldn't be involved in any independent investigation. Look, they have lost their credibility and integrity. And you know what, something I want to highlight, because I'm looking at the petition that was submitted in Accra to Parliament. The petition calls for bipartisan probe into the conduct of the Electoral Commission. So if I'm accusing you of misconduct, why would I then trust you to be a part of the investigation? What? Investigating yourself? That just doesn't sound right. So the EC needs to step aside and agree or bring in that independence to conduct a transparent and bipartisan investigation into the many irregularities that was going on, and also their conduct as an independent body. They shouldn't be involved in any investigation whatsoever. They should step away and let the right people deal with the right thing. They can't be trusted.
Alpha, so where do we go from here? We just have about 3 minutes to go. What should be the middle point? How do you get this resolved? The tensions are getting heightened ahead of the election. Thousands of ND supporters across the country poured in the street. The chairman is threatening that there will be more of such protests, even in the districts, if this does not stop. Clearly, we don't need these inflaming tensions ahead of the election.
The Electoral Commission, as an independent constitutional body, would have to do right by us by conducting itself in a manner that will engender confidence in the electoral process going forward. The concerns that have been raised have been backed with evidence. And Isaiah raised two concerns about independence of the EC and procedural safeguards as to data issues. First of all, the independence of the EC is circumscribed by constitutional dictate and by law. They are not independent to the extent that they are not accountable to, the people of Ghana and to concerns that the players within the electoral space would raise. Secondly, what he describes is as to the process, which I believe that all the parties will put in place safeguards so that our data is not mismanaged. And so that is not really a concern. The call is not that we must give our data to an independent body. The call is that the EC must subject itself, together with all parties, to an audit that will confirm or refute these allegations and engender confidence in the process. What I want to say finally is that the call that the NDC is making is not a new call. The woman who is at the helm of affairs, when she was the IEA chairperson, right, in 2015, on 27th October 2015, made the same call. She called for an independent audit of the register after a debate that the IEA organized. At the time, we didn't have the kind of allegations that have been made. At the time, a district officer in Pusiga was not able to transfer votes from Tamale South to his district. But those concerns that she raised at the time was right, because audit in itself would engender confidence. Okay. And so it is very ironical that she's at the helm of affairs and she has this intransigent poster. But at the last reckoning, the EC seemed to be doubling down. The response they gave was quite encouraging. And so we hope that moving forward, they will be able to heed to good conscience and the call for an audit. Okay, Andy Dusty is up next with the library. But let me give you Alo and Prince the last words on this. If you can do that for me briefly. Alo and then Kuma. Where do we go from here? How do we resolve this dispute?
Yeah, so Kwaku Asante, I believe that it's just one thing. The EC should be able to avail herself and then her commission to be audited. And it will actually boost the confidence in the EC. And whatever the outcome of the 2024 election will be, parties will be able to accept them. But if you refuse an audit to be done, any party that loses the election will have valid reasons to call for whatever they want to call for. So to prevent any drama for the outcome of the election, I believe there is the need for the EC to avail a commission to be audited, and that will go a long way to help our democracy at this point.
Yes, so I will equally implore the EC to open up for an audit. It will only be in the best interest of the EC in their quest in engendering public trust. If they have nothing to hide, then we must also state emphatically that audit will not in any form jeopardize the data of the EC. And for that matter, it must be stated emphatically to that effect.
That is how we wrap up the show. Andy Dusty is up next with the library. My name is Kwaku Asante. Just gone by, you heard Prince Kuma, a student at the University of Ghana. Isaiah Duncan Williams and Nana Kakari were on Zoom. Justice Alo, Benjamin Afa, together with Prince, in here in the studio with me. We have been discussing the NDC's demand for an audit of the voters register. The EC says it is misguided, but they say they're going to study the petition that was presented by the NDC and take a decision on it. But let me run to you again the balloting that has just been concluded at the EC before Andy Dusty takes his seat. NPP will be number 1 on the ballot paper, GCPP number 2 on the ballot paper, GFP number 3, GUM number 4, LPG number 5, NDP number 6, CPP number 7, NDC number 8, and APC number 9. Kofi Krantin, the independent candidate, number 10, John Chumberima, number 11, Kwame Bediako, Cheddar, number 12, and Alan Kwejo Chematin will be the last on the ballot paper. I'll see you again same time next week. But we're expanding this conversation, and I'll see you on TV 8 a.m. tomorrow on the Joy News channel. Andy Dusty up next with the library.
What we are doing is to prevent war in this country. If they think that after the demonstration, everybody will go to sleep.